Look, man.
Where?
Oh, I see.
Wow.
Oh, my. Bowen, look over there.
Wow, is that
culture? Yes.
My goodness.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah. Las Culturistas.
Ding dong, Las Culturistas calling.
I have a gift for Bowen. I've been waiting to hear what sound you're gonna
Percy
make.
Pigs? Is it Percy Pigs?
Yes, it is. Oh my god.
Mary Percy mess. I had no idea what this reveal was gonna be.
But
then I think I heard like the crinkling.
Oh fuck.
This is the M&S.
I crinkled as I came in,
Oh
everybody.
my god, my favorite.
I know.
Girly.
Well, actually, so they're actually from Zane Phillips' sister Emily, who came to the show, and she brought 2 bags of Percy Pigs. Shout out, because explain.
Percy Pigs. I don't think so, honey. Percy Pigs. That was kind of a fake out because I was like, I don't think so, honey, that they are exclusively available at M&S, which is this like food chain in the UK, but God, they're my favorite candy. They're so good. Limited edition.
These are limited edition. Wait, vegan?
Honey,
what?
they're all vegan. Percy,
I didn't know that.
Percy
vegan.
Candy in Europe is
that girl.
The technology, the candy technology there is cutting edge. They pump our shit with like
chemicals. They're trying to kill us.
They're trying to kill us.
Did you hear that? The government's actually trying to kill us all.
How do you mean?
Well, I can't get into it because they're coming.
Oh,
you know, our guest came in with the Secret Service.
And those are the lovely folks at security at NBC. I know those.
Are you
men
at the
well.
level? Are you at the NBC
I'm not
level where
I don't get a little phalanx, but I get.
So you're vulnerable out there.
But I say hi to the guys on like every day that I'm on.
Did they give
air.
this? Hey,
no,
because I can't describe the energy more than hey.
No, they know they're talking to a foppish fellow,
Shut
and they
the
go,
hell up.
"Hey, Bowen, how are you?" They're very they soften up a little bit. They're not
foppish fellow.
I'm
a
a fop.
You're one of the foppish girls of NBC.
Yes.
So were you guys all in a group text like Lauren's boys, Lauren's
Yes,
guys?
that's what we call it.
Yeah.
Lauren's guys.
Lornettes.
The Lornettes are me and the security people on 8.
Do people know about the Lornettes?
Like the actual Lornettes?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. They've been documented.
Okay, there needs to be a documentary about the Lornettes.
Do you think it's fine if I talk about the Lornettes?
I would be glancing in your description of the Lornettes.
The Lornettes are the people who make the popcorn, essentially.
Great, love that. Let's keep it there.
Let's keep it there.
Wow, so
that's
many
true.
reasons.
You have to be a little bit more specific now that I've made it sound like
they're all lovely people. And actually, one of the Lornettes, Karina, helped out on the Culture Awards this summer.
Yes, she did. I love that Lornette.
She's more than a Lornette. She's a wonderful.
More than a Lornette.
More than a Lornette.
That's beautiful.
Anyway,
that should be the title of all their books.
She's a Mornette.
She's a Mornette.
So the reason why this is so exciting is because I was in London, and I want to shout out London and a couple of things I did there.
Please.
I saw Nicole Scherzinger in Sunset Boulevard. This has to be seen. And I'm not just saying this because I'm one of the gayest people in the world.
No.
This is one of the stunning performances of our time. You can't believe how crazy it is. It's unreal.
Nicole Scherzinger can do Sunset Boulevard. Glenn Close
could not sing
buttons or react.
No.
And that's a rule of culture. That's a rule of culture number 76.
76.
Nicole Scherzinger can do Sunset Boulevard, but Glenn Close cannot do buttons and react.
Now, I think that the fact that we're sort of like in this deep of gay culture, talking about buttons and react.
Yes, Sunset Boulevard.
Like, I'm wondering if our guest knows about buttons and react.
I think he does.
I wonder if we were to say, this is a group of words, buttons, react, beep. I would wonder if he could describe.
PCD.
Do you know what those are?
I am so in the weeds.
Yeah. And you're not introduced yet, so they don't know who you are yet.
Yeah.
But he's in the weeds so far. What we're talking about is Pussycat Dolls song titles.
Excellent. I mean, I think I could have I did know that about Nicole Scherzinger.
Yeah.
So maybe I could have got there.
Has she been on the show?
She is. Oh boy.
I feel like she's a Fox girly with The Masked Singer, and I feel like they're telling her, if you go on Seth, you're done.
You're done. You're done, Nicole.
You're done, Nicole.
And already it's tough.
Hey.
No, I'm saying the UK embraces her. In the UK, Nicole Scherzinger is Celine Dion.
It's
you come to the US, she can't even get on the show.
That's not true. She's a very successful entertainer.
Nicole Scherzinger for the pod for Las Culturistas.
Nicole, we would love to have
Started
you
here. Because I think that's going to transfer to Broadway, and every gay person and theater lover should go see this.
That Venn diagram is a circle.
Speaking of theater, you saw Spamalot last night.
I saw Spamalot last night. So funny. Excellent performances all around.
Well,
a perfect
Broadway.
I think Stupid is back.
Thank God.
Stupid shit is back. And
Huge
also,
for us.
I just watching Spamalot and me going, I know. It was my first time seeing the actual show, but I was like, I know Monty Python and the Holy Grail like the back of my damn hand.
Would you say that's one of the cultures that made you say culture was for you?
It is definitely one of the cultures that made me say, because I actually just rented it from the library on my own accord when I was like 9.
You looked at the cover and said, that looks like fun comedy and something I'll enjoy.
And just the opening title cards of like, that person has been sacked and the person who sacked that person has been sacked. I was like, what am I watching? And then the end of that movie, I'm going to spoil it. Everyone there's this huge scene.
Cover your ears.
And then the cops come and arrest everybody. It's one of the best comedy endings ever of a film, I would say.
Huge.
And I want to throw it over to our guest because I think he's he's an expert in comedy.
I would say that.
Wouldn't you say so?
Not only would I say that, not only would I say expert in comedy, I would say expert in kindness.
In kindness.
I would say expert in professionalism.
In family.
I would say in family. I would say this man has one of the best reputations in the business.
Yes.
And guess what? A lot of people talking the truth. And the truth they always say about this guy, lovely, gracious. Everyone at the place he works, Late Night with Seth Meyers, says, I have been here for a long time and I will stay here for a long time. Thank God he puts a roof over one of our good friend's house.
Henry Melcher.
A roof over his house. Henry Melcher.
And I mean, and Archie and Hugo.
Oh, the babies.
That makes it sound like I only pay enough to put a roof on a house.
Well,
and just for roofing.
Just
for roofing.
We re-roofed Henry's house.
That's so nice.
The plumbing there is terrible, but there's a roof. This is, you know him as the star of New Year's Eve.
Oh, thank you.
And the co-host of the Strike Force 5 podcast.
And Family Trips with the Meyers Brothers.
Family Trips with the Meyers Brothers. He's also host of Late Night with Seth Meyers. You know him from Saturday Night Live. Many, many, many years doing the thing over there, and you know something about that. This is a good day.
This is a good day.
Did I say good?
I think so.
That was very Lindsay Lohan of me. Started to say good, started to say great.
Definitely.
But let's just bring him in, shall?
Everyone welcome
Seth Meyers!
Oh,
Now
I'm so happy to be here.
I mean, come on.
First of all, let me just say, you were on the show.
Yeah.
Second time.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So funny.
You were great
Sophomore
the first
effort.
time.
Thank
but
you so
would
much.
you not agree? I think there was a level of comfort between both of us. We know each other a little bit better.
I think the second time was a home run. And I
really was.
I had left really happy about the first time. And then the second time I was like, see, that was how you want to do it.
Yes. It felt a little bit less hewn to maybe the pre-interview.
Exactly.
You know, everything was a bit more
I think
free
that was
and
my
loose.
first ever talk show by myself.
That's not true. Oh, Seth, but the first time you went on Seth.
The first time I went on your
yeah.
show was the first time I was ever like, and please welcome, and you come out and do the thing where, and no one ever talks about the sort of headiness about walking out when the doors come and then you have to do your walk out. It's sort of like, what's my walk out like? What's my thing?
It's funny because every now and then I'll just pop downstairs.
Right.
You would think this is the easiest possible talk show appearance. I pop downstairs to do Fallon.
Yeah.
And I'm backstage and I have such an appreciation. Being a guest on a talk show is so much harder than hosting a talk show.
And how do you describe that?
Because you host it, you get to do it every day. And you just slowly, over the course of time,
Marinate.
like waves lapping against the shore, you become comfortable with it. And the show becomes yours. But even backstage at Fallon, which I've probably done 15 times,
Yeah.
the stage might be like, and remember, you walk out and turn right, and I go, turn right? Like,
Yeah.
and I know. Like, it's not like I'm going to walk out and walk straight to the roots. I will find the desk. But you're backstage in the dark, and you really do start to spin out about the idea that you are now going to perform the idea of being a guest.
Yes,
Ooh.
that is a thing because there's also been at least 2 hellos beforehand. There's been a conversation beforehand.
Oh, and you have to. The artifice of a greeting is tough.
The artifice of a greeting. That's a great memoir title.
It's interesting. I like to say during an interview sometime, we were talking backstage.
Yes.
Because I won't artifice a greeting.
Yeah.
Although it's interesting, neither will David Letterman, and he would not come and say hello before a show.
Oh, really?
Right.
And when he's the 2 times he's been a guest on my show, he has asked that I don't say hello before the show, very politely, because he likes the hello to be the real hello to be on camera.
And they always are. They always are. Hold on. This is not my I don't think so, honey, but Worldwide Pants took down every single Letterman clip from YouTube.
Wait,
Did they really?
I thought they just launched a new YouTube channel.
Oh.
Yeah, they have
Then
their
I'm
own
not
thing
up
now.
to-
They have
okay, great.
they have a whole like encyclopedic catalog.
Don't worry.
Thank God, because I'm like, how am I going to get my Amy Sedaris fix?
I know.
From those episodes.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
You know what I mean?
Do you have a favorite guest?
You know, I will say, I think we've become a nice post Letterman home for Amy Sedaris.
I was just going to say, I think you're the new.
I think she has I think they kind of all get sort of doled out.
Yeah.
It's a draft of sorts where each of us sort of ends up. And I think Amy, even though Amy and Colbert have long history and they're dear friends, I think she likes who she gets to be on our show.
Colbert can't be like there was something about her and Letterman where it was like, it's just this guy letting her go. And then with Colbert, there's so much history there that it's like
Documented familiarity.
right. But it's just like two friends talking, which is not why you watch Amy Sedaris go off.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It's weird. I had to find a way to interview friends because I early on in the show underestimated how prep does help with these things. And I would say, oh, Bill's coming on, Wig's coming on. How could it be bad? And then halfway through it, I'd realize, oh, this is a little bad.
You think so?
I think, but I've gotten better at it. Like, you can't just completely rest on the idea that we will, because we're old friends, we are going to have an interesting conversation. Because sometimes the thing about friends is you are enjoying the conversation even when it's not interesting.
Yeah.
And when a lot of people that don't share that history are in the audience watching, they need a few more sort of like touch points where they can lock into the story.
Right. What about
also-
family though? Like let's say like Thanksgiving, you bring Josh and the parents.
It's the most stressed out I am all year. And by the way, I think it always works out great. My parents are wonderful on the show. My brother's wonderful on the show. But everybody has been saying this week, we forget this is the only week of the year where Seth is on edge.
Wow.
Now, is that also to do with the fact that like you don't want to put anyone in your family like in a position where they feel like fucking like on edge on
Yes,
air?
I want to take care of my parents.
Got it.
I want to take care of my brother. I also don't ever want us to be on TV like, aren't we just the best? Like
we a darling
you want to
family?
like bring it every time. Like I want. My family is fun on a talk show because my family is funny. And so I want to put them in a position to be funny as opposed to just look at us. Isn't it grand that we're this close?
That's like on the surface it seems, and I'm not saying this is what it is, but it would read as presumptuous to be like, I'm gonna bring my parents and my brother on my show.
Yeah.
And look how charming we are.
I think my mother, if she ever came on this podcast, my mother has sort of a catchphrase that she thinks works all the time, but only works sometimes. So I told a story one time about how she was at the beach. She called me because she had been at the beach. My parents were at the beach, and a seagull came and stole her sandwich out of her hand. And she said, "Damn bird." And so people love that she said "damn bird" because she also typed it out on text like DAMM bird.
Double M.
So now whenever anyone like is posting or whatever, I see her weigh it online, she'll just say, "LOL, this is so funny, damn bird." She'll just throw it in there.
And now, how old was she when this happened? Like, what age did she add a catchphrase to her repertoire?
She must have been
like 5 years ago.
55.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she must
That's
have been
very late breaking.
Oh yeah, I know, but like damn bird has really like been a huge thing. I said she should make shirts.
She should make
I
shirts.
think more people would buy her merch than like merch that says like Las Culturistas.
Certainly.
Yeah.
She's got she's sitting on a gold mine.
Damn bird with 2 M's is a very funny
It's
shirt.
so funny.
with a little bird in the corner holding a bagel. I mean, come on.
My son, Axel, when he was 3, was running down a beach, holding a bagel above his head and in the best mood. And a bird came down like it was a circus act where a boy ran across the big top and a bird flew down and grabbed the bagel. And it was, other than the fact that he was crying, it's the most I ever wanted to jump to my feet and applaud a bird.
Yeah.
An animal.
Did you tell him that in years he's going to be laughing?
I'm like, this is a good story.
This is a good one.
This
that
is a
that bird
good-
took that bagel. That damn
Yeah.
bird.
I might offer him damn bird with an MN
You
because that's
should.
available. And he could
available.
take damn bird.
Wait,
Yeah.
Axel is the coolest fucking name for a kid.
And I wasn't
And you
on
know
board
it.
from the beginning.
Really?
Yeah, I love it. And he's an Axel, and I give my wife all the credit in the world. But I thought there was it felt like a bigger swing than it's ended up being.
Okay.
Can I tell you, because we have A names. Ash, which is my wife's maiden name, is our first.
Oh, love that.
ASHE. Then Axel. And then our daughter is Adelaide, which is my grandmother's name. Now, if the third had been a boy, my wife had an A name picked out that I was very I was going to fight hard.
You were on edge.
Yes. Give me your instant reactions to this.
We will.
Yeah.
Atlas. Okay, thank you.
Okay, yeah, wow.
thank you.
We both were hesitant on that
I'm
one.
real good.
What's the sentiment of that name?
I
for
think
her?
uniqueness.
Yes.
I think that we live in an era where a lot of the unique A names have now become very commonplace.
Yes.
It was hard to find. It's at some point, even like Archer, I feel like my kids had already been in a class where there's like Archer B and Archer J,
it's
because
done.
they've got a couple.
Right.
So
I'm sorry, you know what? I'm coming around to
You're
it.
coming around
I
to
think
Atlas.
it's like Houdini by Dua
Atlas?
Lipa. I think it's a grower.
No, there's some. I thought of Miss Rand as soon as I heard that.
For
name.
sure, I think
Yeah.
that's going to happen. But Atlas Meyers, like, I'm sorry, if that's a very powerful high schooler. That is not
risk-
a nerd.
the
I'm telling
risk,
you, that's,
though-
and I hate saying
Yes.
this, but that person crushes it.
yes, the risk, of
you know
course,
what
is
I
you
mean
end
by
up with
it.
like an ironic Atlas. You end up with a high schooler who is not.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, when the funniest thing is, I was like, well, you want an A name, and so if it's a boy, it's Atlas, and if it's a girl, it's going to be Anne, and then you would have AYN, and that would tell you everything.
yeah,
It would tell you everything about our family.
exactly.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
But I think that I think the unique A name that kicked this all off for the culture, Miss Apple Martin.
Oh,
yeah.
Apple Martin.
I think
I've never
Gwyneth and
adjusted
Chris-
to Apple Martin.
She certainly has. She seems to be loving life.
How old is Apple Martin?
I
now?
think she's like at least
She's like 18.
18.
I
Gotcha.
think.
She's an adult.
I think
She can
she's.
vote.
I think she's going to become a model. That's the rumor I heard on the street.
fine.
Word on
Yeah.
the street was that Apple Martin was going to become a model, which is like, yeah, sure,
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah,
for sure.
That would have been one of those things if you could have bet on it early.
Yeah.
The odds would have been terrible.
100%.
Like bet 100 to win like 750.
yeah. Come on, Vegas. Are
Yeah.
you a gambler?
I will gamble a little. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a hard yes. It's not.
what's
I
your
will gamble.
game?
It's a yes.
I mean, so when I go to Vegas, I will get a little intimidated by craps, but that is by far the most fun one.
Yeah.
If I can go with a couple people who know it, that is the most fun to do. Blackjack, I just become to be good at blackjack, you have to be patient. And
Yes.
when I go to, when I'm usually in the last sort of decade when I'm in Vegas, it's usually because I did a show and I don't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
And so if I only have an hour, it just feels like I get a little antsy.
Yeah,
and
gotcha.
Sure.
play right into the casino's hand.
Yeah. It really is true. I was just in Vegas and like I've been to Vegas where the table was hot. You really can feel that. Like when the table's hot and things are going good, you feel like, oh, there's no way I could ever sit down and play this game and not be good.
Yeah.
And then the last time I was there, the table was ice cold. I was bad. Every single hand was bad. And you're like, I will never do this again. But there's something addictive about that, like, and there's something very real and tangible about the feeling of I'm hot or I'm like dead.
Yes.
Because you're sure that it can turn at any given moment, and it sometimes it doesn't.
This is what I'm saying though. It's like I'll sit down and I'll play like play a bad hand. Is that what they'd say?
Yeah.
And sure. And I'll be like, oh, it's bad for the rest of the night, and then it is, and then sometimes it's good, and the stake is on me. Actually, you'll see me in Alexander McQueen.
Now, this is the very depressing gambling summer I had because when the strike happened, I tried to book stand-up shows. It was very hard to book maybe the ideal places because a lot of people are on the road. A lot of those theaters.
Yeah.
I had a 3-day stint where I did a casino in Hollywood, Florida, then Tampa, Florida, then Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. And all those places, you know, even if people didn't maybe know me from my show or SNL, posters are up of you at the casinos because you're doing a show. And so you don't really want to go gamble as someone whom, you know, they could recognize on that.
Sure.
Yeah.
So what I would have to wake up so early to get to the airport for the next one that I would sort of sometimes go and like gamble at like 4:45 in the morning.
Really?
Because it was, and that is,
You see the way he clutched
Yeah,
himself?
I mean,
he
that's-
believes you're addicted.
there's no one there. Like there's no happy gamblers at 4:45.
Well, and not
Yeah.
in Tampa, Florida.
Not in Tampa, Florida. Yeah,
We say that with all love.
with all.
Do you get people in like Tampa, Florida who come up to you and say, hey, I see your show? Do you get ornery people?
I don't. You know, I do think people at this point are smart enough to self-select.
Got
out.
it.
Yeah. I do get a little. I mean, I think weirdly, Hollywood. So I don't know. The Hard Rock in Hollywood, Florida, is the one that's shaped like a guitar. Have you ever seen it? It's like crazy.
We gotta go.
$3 billion.
That's right up our
It's a
alley.
little disappointing. One thing is you hear it shaped like a guitar, and you're like, "That's so dumb." And then when you're driving in, you see it, and you do have that kid moment of like, "Oh my god, I'm going to stay in a guitar."
Yes! We love that. That's right up our alley.
Yeah, it's really kind of cool. Whatever you call it, the neck of the guitar you wish was a little higher. Obviously, it doesn't make sense. You're in a hurricane state, so it's only maybe like 5 or 6 frets up.
Sure.
And then I think the idea is it's sort of you're supposed to think it disappears into the clouds.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
It's an upright guitar.
It's an upright guitar.
Okay. That's
And
scary.
But that I felt like that was real Trump country, but the kind of Trump country where they have money and they're totally fine to come to your show and not be like, wow, isn't he a lot?
They're like, yeah, he's really doing his thing.
Yeah, he's doing
well,
like,
it was
yeah.
funny.
Right.
The rest of it was funny, but then when he got a little edgy,
But
we know.
but anyway, he also does good things. So like that's what I feel about it, yeah.
Well, okay, here's my question. So you mentioned like looking at a guitar-shaped hotel and getting very excited. Are you like us where you reap the NBC perks and by us, I mean Bowen? Are you a theme park person? Will you go to Universal Studios and sort of kill it?
I am waiting. The kids aren't quite there.
Okay.
And so, but I will say I did not take advantage as an adult without children of the theme park world.
Right.
Yeah.
We do it.
Why would you?
I had my theme park era years where I lived in Amsterdam for a couple of years. I worked for this theater company in Chicago.
Yep.
And sort of middle of Holland, there is this place called Efteling, which is for my money the best theme park in the world. And it's sort of fairy tale themed.
Yes.
And it's built in sort of a forest. And that was, we would just go there on a bus and take hard drugs and go. And it was, to me, I'd just be chasing that the rest of my life.
And I think that's what happened to us because this was like pre anyone knowing who the fuck we were.
That's the most important thing.
So we went, that's really what ended up happening because we went, our friend Dave and us, we went to Universal and Disney World and he had made these, when someone makes weed food themselves, it's going to be a gnarly ride.
Yes,
and you're really rolling the dice. So he had made these Rice Krispie treats that were
weed butter.
loaded with THC. And I'm telling you, like, we would take like mouthfuls of this and just be like unable to speak.
Yeah.
At Universal, just exploring the world. You know what I mean? Immersing in these rides and like we were children. And now I don't think we can ever do that again because I don't think we'll ever ingest weed like that again because they don't make it like that anymore.
Right.
And we've already had that experience of being children and like rechilding ourselves.
Yes.
So now it's really bad.
I will say if you veer into a bad trip, the last thing you want to be around is a bunch of Dutch teenagers.
Oh, yeah.
Just because all of a sudden that like, ik wil een kind, everything about it is so.
Whoa.
This hits this level of sort of melting grotesqueness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's horrifying.
I think we've said publicly it's a gross language. it doesn't really sound good to
It does
me.
not sound
It doesn't
good.
hit
It's
the
not
ear
music.
right. No.
We just performed at Boom Chicago.
Yes.
We're a little mad at them right now because they lost the audio of our Michelle Collins episode. And so we're a little mad at them right now. But it was a lovely experience performing there. And we were there and I was like, oh, wow, this was Boom Chicago. This was...
It was a different physical space when I was there. But I performed in that spot. I went back there for the 30th anniversary this summer, which was cool.
I mean, I think we missed each other by a day.
Yes,
I
we
had
did.
texted you. It was like, because people,
When we were there?
No, when I was there, when I took a solo little trip there in July or something like that, the talk of the town was, well, Seth Meyers was just here, and I said, oh, well, if like his show was last night, let me see if he's in town. And by the way, I was just texting you to be like, I heard you're in town. I'm just here by myself, just like wandering the canals. Like, if you're up to anything, let me know. And then you had obviously taken a flight out.
It was a very short visit. I would have been lovely to walk the canals.
We would have just walked the canals.
I think we would have walked the canals. I think we would maybe stopped for a coffee. Canal side.
Canal side coffee.
Yeah.
Rice stoffel. We got rice stoffel.
You did? Did you enjoy your rice stoffel?
I love rice stoffel.
I absolutely love Amsterdam. The walking the canals when it's in the evening when there's no one there, it is quite peaceful. It really is.
I've realized I have a problem with Amsterdam.
What
which
is
is
it?
my own personal problem with it. I find the nostalgia for the time I had there is oppressive because it was where it was that sense of beginning, which is an impossible thing to recreate. I was there with this exceptional group of people.
Yeah.
And we were all had this adventurer spirit of let's go move overseas. Let's take this chance. And we were doing great shows and then one by one, we all started to, find success outside of it. And that was all great. That was the plan. But, it's impossible to. And so sometimes I go back there and I walk these canals where even though, everything that I could have possibly hoped would have happened for me has happened for me. Like you still don't float the way you float when you're 24 and you just crushed a improv show.
Sure.
Isn't that interesting? It's so true.
Well, but we don't really experience that, I think, because we were coming up here.
Yes.
I experienced that after I left New York.
Sure.
So basically, like, I left, I had this in New York City. Like, it's very hard for me sometimes still to be, like, in, like, the lower, like around NYU and the Lower East Side, and even around, like, UCB Chelsea and stuff like that. Like, I had left for 5 years and then came back, and the pandemic had separated me from it. And so I found, like, one night when I was walking around, we just talked about this, but I got really emotional just being, like, back in New York, like, looking at theaters that were there and aren't there anymore.
Yeah.
And, like, because it's what you're saying. It's like, I remember, like, crushing a character set at UCB East and feeling, like, better than I do after I, like, release a fucking album or something. You know what I mean? It's just, and it's funny. One of the questions they ask is, what would you tell yourself 10 years ago? What would you tell yourself 15 years ago? Just like enjoy it, because those are such iconic, memorable, like, is irrepeatable words? Like,
sure.
So it could be. You can't repeat them.
Well, also the crushing was the thing.
Yeah.
That's all it was.
Yeah.
Like when you mention like putting out an album, you put it out and then you wait.
Yeah.
Right? Because with that instant reaction, like the goal, you went out and you never thought tonight someone from Amsterdam show business, Mr. Amsterdam is going to be in the audience. So you never thought you were going to break on a given night. And it was just this. Also, that wonderful thing, and you guys obviously had it, where succeeding as part of a collective.
Yes.
100%.
Which happens a little bit at SNL, but not really, because there's never a night where everybody has a great night.
Totally. I
And
know.
That's such an interesting thing.
I will say a nice way, looking back at my favorite era of SNL, like I think we all look back at it like, look, we all crushed every week, even though we know we didn't.
Yes.
But we allow that to be the memory of it.
Which was what era?
I think for me, it's... I'm going to get like
36 to 38.
7 to 11, 2007, 2011.
Yeah.
Like,
Of course.
It's, I
That
mean,
was amazing.
Greatest freshman class of all time. Andy and the Lonely Island
Oh,
guys.
absolutely.
Bill.
Wig Sudeikis, Bill.
100%.
I mean, that alone.
Yeah. That was really, really,
That was
really
very
good.
special.
Very special.
And weirdly enough, so we were freshmen in 2008, and what I would do every single weekend is I would go wait on the standby line. So
That
I
was
was
a
out there.
standby
I was
line
like a
kid.
standby girl. Like I met Bobby Moynihan on the standby line. Bill Hader came out, I think, so high and said hello to us.
That would be weird. That is not my memory.
He was
Weird.
anxious guy.
He seemed high, but
Yeah.
it was Bill Hader, you know what I mean? Like, and Bobby, and they were coming out to say hi to us. And I remember I got in, my first show was James Franco and Kings of Leon, and I think I was just in shock the whole time. And this was when Tina was coming to do Sarah.
Yeah, oh wow.
And Sarah Palin. And then my, I think, second episode was Anne Hathaway and the Killers. And this episode was when Kristen did the Lawrence Welk show.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there and I just thought, I remember that. And I was like, this energy is so insane and so wild that like it like drove me for the rest of my life. And the other thing I remember, and this is you, was how fucking cool you were when you came out for Weekend Update and you gave all the interns high fives and everyone in the theater was like, it's Seth Meyers. You know what I mean? You came out and like crushed Weekend Update. Weekend Update was incredible. And I just remember your energy and your vibe. And then meeting you years later, I was like, that totally tracks just from me, like even seeing this man inhabit a space, because you set the tone that was like the best vibe. Thank
you. I'm so happy you mentioned that show, because we just had Anne Hathaway on. I can't even remember if I mentioned this on camera. It is the only time I remember when that show was over, the audience gave a standing ovation.
It was amazing.
A standing ovation
And the
during
Killers
Good Nights.
performed again.
And the Killers performed again.
Yeah.
And my parents were at that show, and my mom, I introduced my mom to the Killers, and as they walked away, she said very loud, and they heard, she goes, well, I don't know why they call themselves the Killers. They couldn't be nicer boys.
Oh my God.
That's so funny.
That's her damn
They
bird.
couldn't be nicer boys, might
That's
be
her
title of
damn
that.
bird.
her
They
damn
couldn't
bird.
be nicer boys.
Oh yeah, they couldn't be
Title of
nicer
that.
boys. Oh, that is so great.
Also, though, I have a weird shame thing. And this is
What?
that not being able to let go of a choice.
Yeah. Of course.
I don't think this mattered. We lost the Emmy all those years. And let me just say,
So fucked up.
that year, and that when those Sarah Palin things, that is the most I ever felt like we were on a winning team.
100%.
Like,
Yes.
There was white hot, and it just, having Tina back, and I felt like we understood we have to keep outdoing ourselves, and it was so thrilling and so fun. And that cast was coming into its own, and everybody walked out. You were excited to see. It was nuts, and
Absolutely.
it was great. At the end of the year, I remember as head writer, you get to pick a sketch to submit. I don't think it would have mattered, but
Oh, God.
I remember I didn't pick that one because Lorne thought for the show, he picked a different one, which was a worse show, but it was the one Sarah Palin was actually on.
Right.
Yes,
Which
yeah.
was
And
also incredible.
It was that moment was incredible. The rest of the show
Was not as good.
it was esoteric in a way, whereas the Anne Hathaway show was just banger after banger after banger. But it's so funny because I remember after we lost, I was like, it wouldn't have mattered. I'll forget about this. Every time it comes up, I'm like, why didn't I pick that one?
Wow.
So,
But no, I mean, I feel like Emmys and SNL were in this I mean, it still is in this weird existential place now where like they don't quite know what to do with the show or like where to place it or how to categorize it. But it's like back then it was like it's like why wouldn't you nominate Kristen and Bill every single season and Andy
100%.
and Jason like that whole cast? Why wouldn't you nominate all those people in the same league as like the sitcoms of that day or whatever?
I just think, well, and I've said this to you, and this is, I think it doesn't make sense to me that there's not a variety performance category because I think you would have an Emmy if there was. I'm just saying that. I mean, I think it's weird to say, let's put these variety performers in with people that are playing characters with emotional arcs because actors especially like will vote for that before they vote for
Always.
like someone
I
doing.
feel as though with Bowen's George Santos, I've seen a journey. I've seen
You know
an
what?
emotional
Not
arc.
know.
I've seen
That's
an
not-
I
emotional.
actually went to his, so I'm kind of addicted to like the fact that he still digs in on Twitter. It's so crazy. So I went to his Twitter and to see if he had commented on it because I want him to say something about you so bad so that I can log on to our Twitter and be like, I just want to say.
He's in the weeds right now. I don't think he has time to comment on my
I
performance.
wouldn't be surprised if he has time. I just don't put anything past him to do the dumbest shit possible.
Although, I mean, what gay Twitter was talking about this past week was that, like, I mean, you wanted gay representation in Congress. You got it. Like,
Now
this
you have
is
this fucking slop.
some gay guy found money and then spent it on makeup and porn. You know what I mean?
It's really good.
It is always be careful.
I
When you
always
say like, just give us one. It's like, well, don't.
Yeah,
I bet this will shock you, but my other favorite memory about that year is when it was over.
Yeah.
Because you know the man. Between Dress and Air, Lorne said, he gave all his notes. And then he said, I just want you all to know, I feel as though this has been a championship season.
Yes.
And I think it
was.
Nobody knew what to say because and Lorne is not someone who has moments like that.
No.
So I do. I think that was, for me, and again, just everybody was so in the pocket that year.
It was an in the pocket season.
I'm telling you,
sure.
and it was an energy that radiated certainly through the city, and I guess to everyone watching it, but in the comedy community that we were in, or that we were about to be in, it was really exciting. And you mentioned the Lonely Island. I remember they were like, that was really the year I think too that the digital shorts started like really popping off. Like, and I remember that was like formative, certainly for me, I'm sure for you as well, like because there was something like there was an abandon about it that was like that felt like queer to me and
1000%.
like hit me in my head, and I was like, there's something about the Lonely Island that makes me feel like I can do whatever the fuck I want. You know what I mean?
I think those had so much to do with the next 20 years of comedy.
Yeah.
1000%.
I think they're way more influential than people realize.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that even the sketch work of, you talk about that, I love that Lawrence Welk Kristen sketch so much. But that was sort of inspired by 70s SNL. Like that could have also worked then.
Right.
Anytime.
And that was sort of the magic of Kristen, was being this better, more modern version of what we. But those guys showed up, and it was, oh no, this is a whole new thing.
Yeah.
It's gonna be this different thing.
Yep.
And those seasons were like a perfect little like 4-dimensional tapestry of like this is like past, present, future all in one.
Yeah.
I mean, very cool.
It's very weird. You guys mentioned Henry Melcher, who is a producer on our show and obviously went to school with you guys. And for me, it's so crazy just realizing now there's this whole, you guys talking about being in college when that season happened. And now so many of you and your colleagues have come through and been guests on my show. It must be so weird to have your moment where the people you knew in college are all sort of in culture.
Well, I mean, with Josh and Aaron for Dix the Musical going on, that was like, I stayed up for that episode. I stayed up for your episode for this past month. It is this like really,
it's crazy
surreal thing of like
that was when they were on this show. Please, I hope you don't take offense to the fact that I will listen to my podcast at not one. I will speed it up a little.
Yes.
And that was the first time when the four of you were talking once. I'm like, nope, I'm going to do it at once.
you listened to it?
I slowed it down. Because
you can't listen to it fast.
It started at the beginning. I was like, this is like everybody. It was like in an if you look down in an orchestra pit and everybody was just.
Yeah.
It was, it
solos.
delighted me to no end.
We
so
love
that's
them.
I think that's the only podcast in the last 10 years that I've been like, I'm going to listen to this at 1x.
Seth and I are the same then.
Bowen,
we're
I used to get
1.5.
on Bowen, but so now I do 1.75 on YouTube.
Yeah. Yep.
But like I used to get on Bowen because I was like, why would you do that? Because comedy is intentional. The speed at which we say things is intentional. We talk all the time about how cadence is culture.
Yes, of course.
But now I understand. Because sometimes there's so much you want to consume.
You are just resetting your own internal cadence to it. So because it's also cadence in what's that?
In a relative sense?
In a relative sense to the other people.
Yes,
so
yes,
if you
yes.
speed it all up, if you sped up one person in a comedy scene, it wouldn't make sense.
No.
But if you
totally.
speed up everybody, I will say, in the early days of The Daily, I had Michael Barbaro on the show.
Yes.
And I did not realize that anyone could take offense to this. But I said, I love The Daily because it's 20 minutes. I can listen to it at 1.5. And it was as if I slapped the man.
But it's not as if, it's not because
Get over it. Get it.
I know. I've seen him since. He's lovely. But it was the first time where I realized I felt safe. I felt like it was a safe place, and I could tell you guys I listened to 1.5. But
The
I
fact
think
that you press play on it at all.
Oh yeah,
huge.
Major.
This show, you got. First of all, let me say, I have this real. The only hesitation I had about coming on this show is that I feel like your voices in concert with one another are music, and when I listen to your podcast, it is like music, and I have the flattest, most nasally voice. I'm working through a cold. I feel like your listeners right now are like, who let this?
No.
It's
Outta
like
here.
I feel like you are too like a classically trained musician, and I'm a third grader with a recorder who is on here like boop, boop, boop. So anyway, I know that I have a lot of shame for everybody's listening.
This
right
is
now.
this couldn't be further from the truth. I listen to family trips and I go, wow, I get two Meyers vocal timbres. This is my heaven.
I'm glad that you think they're two, because I do think we sound.
You sound so similar in a way that is only delightful for me. I go, these are two good guys talking in my ear. I'm all for it. This is you're so off base for that.
Okay,
Get
thank you
out
for
of your
saying that.
head.
Thank you.
We were described by Betty Gilpin as piccolo and bassoon.
Oh, that's
And I feel like
wonderful.
you've arrived here as a clarinet.
You're a clarinet.
Welcome to the orchestra, baby, or the band
Betty,
as it
I mean,
were.
she's is that your pinnacle guest? I
She's
feel
one
like
of
that-
them. She was our.
I haven't. I listened when she was a guest. I haven't listened to the live one. Was the live one?
Live one
she
was
Live
interviewed
was
you?
fun, but it was
Okay.
more. It was more like 92nd Street Y-ish. Her first episode, Maggots and Magic, that was like a moment in the podcast because we genuinely believe. You've had her on your show, right?
I never have.
Oh, you have to.
I know. It breaks my heart that I haven't.
It's fantastic.
She's just so smart and so great. You should also check out her book.
oh yeah.
great.
Oh, she's got an amazing book.
I think it's time to ask Seth the question.
It's literally
Oh, great.
time.
Seth Meyers, what is the culture that made you say culture is?
So
great?
I talked to Henry about this
Yes.
beforehand, and this is the heartbreaking thing. I can't believe you literally talked about the movie, which I should have known.
the movie.
Monty Python and the Holy Grail was my answer.
But you know what?
The culture that was your culture, but
That's fate.
So here's my
Yeah.
moment, because I remember it so clearly. I was homesick from school, and usually my mom was a school teacher. Usually she would take the day off, and for some reason, my dad did not go to work one day. He was, he was a businessman. He commuted to Boston. He's like, I'll stay home with you. And he went to the video store and he rented it. And he brought it home. And obviously it was a movie he'd seen. And the opening credits That was the thing. Mine was, there was all of a sudden they just slowly started mentioning a moose in the credits.
Right.
Like moose handler. And I remember there was one that was moose's nose wiped by. And for whatever reason, I think that's the moment where you go, I don't think I ever will. But it would be nice to be in a world where I would try to write something like that.
Wow, that's so cool.
Because it's also writing. That moment as a kid when you realize writing. Because that thing of, and again, that's Python. I loved SNL as a kid, but my parents also had watched Python and it showed on public television. So we'd watch that. And so I kind of liked being the kid who, we could all talk about SNL sketches. I certainly was never looked down my nose at SNL, but I also like that I had this other thing, which is like, you guys probably wouldn't get it.
Right.
Yeah.
The fact that it was on PBS, right?
It was. That's when we saw it. Yeah, I think that's probably where it aired in the States from the beginning.
Right. Moose's nose wiped by is pure writing because as a kid, it's like performance is always register. It's like it's a very obvious direct thing. But for you to realize that, like, oh, that's writing, like that is a joke, and it's just words on a screen or whatever, is that
there is that moment when you realize writing is a thing. It's very odd. It's like you things appear on television and you're a kid, you kind of just accept it. Like I remember watching all these movies and just like, I'm watching a movie, I don't think about how it came to be. It's just in front of me. And then you realize there's a creative aspect to it and you're like, how the fuck would I find myself to be that person? But that's like a light bulb moment for a young person.
I also think the genius and why that movie, why Life of Brian, why they endure is you make it about a thing from 1,000 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's also funny, as a kid, you know King Arthur.
Yeah.
And it's only been presented to you. There's never been a patina of comedy on it, right? Yeah. And then all of a sudden, it's also the first time as a kid, you're like, oh, and also you can be dumb about all this.
Yes.
Like you could tell jokes about the idea of a Holy Grail is also inherently super funny.
Right.
Yeah.
No, but I really feel like dumb, frivolous shit is back. Like between like Spam-A-Lot being back, Shucked, which I love.
I love Shucked.
And like I think Josh and Aaron doing Dicks is like a perfect example of just like let's just make jewelry for people's heads instead of like making like these gorgeous embellished adornments of like importance for people. I feel like there's it's great when something's important, especially in comedy, I guess, but like
but we flew a little too close to the sun there. I think as a generation, I think weepy comedy. By the way, I saw the movie May December.
Oh my God, I can't wait.
It is wild. It is a wild. Natalie is the best she's ever been. Like I'm telling you, when she crushes it, like she's. And there's obviously no debate, but obviously one of the best we have. Julianne's Kuckelbird in it, like she has a lisp, which has to be, I'm looking at you, the audience, you have to go. And then Charles Melton from Riverdale, like delivers one of the best supporting performances of the year. I think the script is nutsa. And what I will say, the funniest thing is the Golden Globes, I guess, I don't know, maybe they feel this is the way forward for it, but it's being categorized as a comedy. And I'm like,
wait, what?
I'm sorry. No, that's the comedy. That you think this movie passes as a comedy. People might disagree because I guess you could call it like a very, very, very dark satire, like a black comedy, but like not really.
I can't believe in the reboot of the Golden Globes. The first thing they did was say, we're going to decide what your movies are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that was always like it was just the most, corrupt, category hunting award show. Maybe they were like, that's who we are, and that's why people like it.
Yeah, maybe they're just not afraid of it. But to hear that May December was going to be a comedy days after I had seen it, because it shook me to my core. And what I will say is, I think I get the impulse for someone that's done really hard comedy and stuff like that, like a comedian, to want to show and express another side.
Yeah.
I get that. But also, like, I just feel sometimes it's a shame when there are no laughs in something that's meant to be like a comedy. Like, and that's why I feel, I hope you're right, because I want to say like Stupid never left and Stupid's always been there, but like it kind of did. Like,
I feel like Stupid doesn't get like, what a lot of people were saying about Dicks was that they were like, this is beyond critique. Like, we don't know how, like, the reviewers were like, we don't really know what to rate this.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And I feel like there is something about comedy that's like that is like outside of like any kind of criticism in a way that like is unfortunate, because I think a lot of comedy, like the Police Are Destroy Boys had their movie come out, and like a lot of the reviews are like, this was great, 4 stars. Like, no, sorry, this was great, 40 out of 100 or something. You know what I mean? It's like, wait,
that is the weird. I mean, again, it's a reminder why there's a poison to putting a number on it. Because sometimes you read a thing and all it will be is positive.
Yep.
And then when you look at the number and you're like, now what is that all
right.
about?
Yeah, exactly. And they do that with comedies all the time.
Please Don't Destroy has the thing. They'll still never pass up the chance to tie it to SNL.
Of course.
So that is the thing. If you are an SNL person and it feels like, even though Lauren had nothing to do with it, they will. I was noticing, I'm like, oh, even these people really like it, or like, they want to tell you they know these are guys on SNL.
Yes. And then put it in the same cluster of films as like, I don't know, like Tim Meadows doing the Ladies Man movie.
Yes.
It's like, it's not the same
very different
thing. Anyway.
I did, we were looking for something, just again, we're sorry, shut off our brains, my wife and I the other day. And because I listened to you guys do a list, I have not, since I saw it in theaters, watched My Best Friend's Wedding.
Oh! Isn't it great?
And I feel like you guys, the thing that you forgot to mention, and there's so much, when was the era of I'm doing comedy meant I'm going to fall down 7 times in a movie?
Yeah. She's constantly on her back in that movie.
She's constantly falling down. And then I think even when Rupert Everett shows up, he falls down. There's a lot of like, that was an era where people would look at you when you weren't supposed to be seen, and you would be
fall.
so taken aback.
Yes.
That you would just fall. A lot of falling in that movie.
A lot of falling.
She makes everything easy in that, even the constant falling down. A lesser actress, people would be like, why is she falling down so much?
Oh, but yeah. Everything. The ease of it.
I feel like there's a generation of, let's just say, actress who, like, I've heard anecdotally from people that are like, oh, well, this actor, like, across different projects, the same actor has pitched multiple times to different writers. What if I fell into a pool for this scene? I'll tell you who it is off mic, but it's amazing. The same actor, legendary A-list actress who's been in every movie that you love, has for multiple movies been like, I think this scene is fine. I think it'd be better if I fell into a pool.
I'm very excited about this.
You're going to love the answer.
I'd like to make our off-camera guesses, and then you don't have to say who it is.
Okay.
Please, next episode, say whether or not we were right.
Yes.
Okay.
We'll do.
I will also say one of my favorite stories is when I was at NYU studying writing in my sitcom class, like this woman had written on a sitcom that starred, it was one of those like first name sitcoms in the 90s. And she said that the actress came into the writer's room one day and said, there's just too much conflict in the episodes. Can't I just come in and jump on the bed? And they had to explain to her that in her half-hour sitcom, which needs a story and conflict to create comedy and all the things she really wants, she can't just come in and jump on the bed. Again, Oscar-nominated legend. You know who I'm talking about.
I know who you're talking about.
I do.
I probably said it on
I
there.
remember Fred, when he was pitching Los Spookies to me, was saying that he wanted to open it. Do you know this? He wanted to open the first episode by saying, because Fred had this theory that conflict is over.
Oh, wow.
He was like, I think we're post-conflict, which is a very funny Fred idea. And he wanted to start it by him sitting there and go, hi, I'm Fred Armisen. This show's called Los Spookies. We just want you to know nothing bad's going to happen.
Yeah. So sweet.
Everything's going to turn out fine. And we don't ever want you to worry when you watch this show that anything bad's going to. It was such a funny idea.
Wow.
Because, of course, Los Spookies, nothing bad happened. But it was really funny to be like, we just want you to know a lot of shows right now. Because even comedies, right? Like bad things started happening in comedies all the time. And it's like, this isn't that.
That's so funny because we're working on something together for us. And in the pitch, in the thing that we're doing, we say, you never worry about the friendship. Like, don't worry, they're always going to be friends.
Yeah.
And I don't know why that's like
a huge disclaimer that we have to put in.
Yeah, but it feels like, who are we doing that for? For us, for them, for the network? Like, what is that for?
For everybody, because I think it is pretty ingrained at this point that it's like, it's not like it's like we used to watch sitcoms, like it used to be like a Family Matters, like a Fresh Prince thing, where it was like, it's always gonna be fine.
Yeah.
You know, like but now we're not quite as reassured.
I think that it's also that thing of like us wanting to be clear about the fact that like if we do something, it's gonna be comedy. It's not going to do that thing where it's like I look over my shoulder at Bowen in one episode and a silent tear rolls down my face because I'm concerned about the deterioration of who we are. You know what I mean? Like whereas which I think we've seen. Like I'm tired of sad and dark.
But God bless those shows.
But God bless, they were so good.
Them.
There was now I feel like a lot of comedies there is like we're in the sort of gritty comedy era. I feel like 10 years ago I remember talking to my friends that there should be a different Emmy category called whimsy.
Yeah.
That was not because there was a brand of comedy for a while where there was no expectation.
Right.
There were laughs. But it certainly wasn't a drama, but it just sort of lived in this middle where it was just, it's whimsy.
It's whimsy. It's jumping on the bed.
Yeah.
It's jumping on the bed.
Did you have, when you were at NYU, did you ever take a class taught by Eric Gilliland?
Eric Gilliland? I don't think so.
All right.
Was he in dramatic writing?
He had written for Roseanne.
Okay.
And so I think he was like a visiting teacher. So
the most iconic teacher we had, his name was Charlie Rubin. He had written for Seinfeld, SNL, and another thing, Simpsons. And I remember it was like the three iconic S's. Yeah. And every like straight dude that I was in college with was like Seinfeld, Simpsons, SNL, baby. And like having to learn that, of course, SNL was like deep. And Seinfeld, my dad was like a huge Seinfeld fan. But the Simpsons was this thing that like felt like, were you a Simpsons kid?
I was a Simpsons kid, and then going to NYU felt completely alienated by all the Simpsons quoting that was going on around me. I was like, I thought I loved this show, and I guess I know nothing about it. And so it's taking me this like re-tutored myself into this idea that like, I have always loved The Simpsons just as much as anyone else. It's just, it was this competition to see who loved The Simpsons the most. Yeah. Anyway, but Charles Rubin?
No, I'm just saying like he was an iconic teacher, and I remember those three shows like set him up as being that way. And so, saying that he had that background meant that he had like disciples.
Yeah, he had the full attention.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. You know, I've watched the first half. So I feel, can I review a movie that I've watched half of?
Yeah, please.
And I will watch the whole. It's The Holdovers, the new
I'm hearing good
which
things.
I really enjoyed the first half of. But Giamatti, Best Friend's Wedding.
Oh, wow. Yes, he plays, he works at the hotel.
Look at that.
Oh, my God.
Nice grab.
Wow.
And so I'm very excited. Thanks to you, I do believe I'm going to ask him about his time on My Best Friend's
You
Wedding.
really should. And I'm happy you brought it back because you know what clip I often go to and watch again and again and again on YouTube from that movie? It's not Pick Me, Choose Me, Love Me, which should always get the credit as, it walked so that Meredith Grey could run.
Sure. Is it when they're on the boat?
It's when they're on the boat.
Yeah.
Kimmy says, just when you love someone, you say it. You say it right then, out loud. This is my Dermot.
It's very
Lauren.
good.
Lauren. Matt's go to Dermot.
Otherwise, the moment just passes you by. And then the moment passes
They go under a bridge.
Now, I have to say something, and this is praise for the two of you.
Yeah. Oh.
I believe you are, the way I would describe you, you're witnesses. Like when you see things, like it's so, I was like, the backup dancers at Usher are so lucky you were at their show.
I shine a light.
Yeah, but like, you know what I mean? Like you guys see things and then you talk about things. So because you mentioned that quote on your Julia Roberts episode. And so I think I would have missed how good that scene was.
It's so good.
But because you had talked about it, I'm like, oh, wow, yeah. I sometimes could allow myself to maybe get a little jaded during a romantic comedy. And then I realized, oh, no, it's
an excellent one.
But again, like you need these moments to like weave it all together. And if you don't have this really special moment.
Yeah.
So.
God was up to his tricks that day too, because the way that her hair is blowing, it was like they said, we're going to set up a perfect day for this shot. And I have to say, like that movie, I think there's like, is there anything problematic about it even?
I don't know.
Like it's not like other movies of that era.
I mean, I guess I'm wondering like
why
when people start singing at a restaurant, it's all of a sudden scored with a backing track.
For sure.
So problematic.
So problematic.
Terrible. That was problematic.
That's a good problem.
Yeah.
That was.
I think it's very
problems.
safely not problematic at all.
No, and an iconic Chicago movie.
Iconic Chicago.
Would you say so?
I think it is an iconic Chicago.
I got moves you've never seen. She's so good. Where was her Oscar nomination for that?
Met her exactly one time.
Tell us.
And you know what? I should answer this question because sometimes I do a Q&A at my show before the last act. And sometimes people will say, are you ever starstruck? And this is really one of them. I hosted an Emmys and I was backstage with a couple of writers. And at the Emmys, there's just a lot of coming and going between the wings. And this was, she had a mini series.
Homecoming?
Oh, was it Homecoming?
Yes, it was
on
Homecoming.
Amazon.
That's exactly right. And
That was great, by the way.
she was just sort of racing by to go, and she just stopped and put a hand on my arm and was like, oh my God, you're doing such a great job. And I was like, oh my God, thank you. And then she went, and it was just like, I had to be in the moment. I didn't have enough time to be in the moment of, wow, that was thrilling.
That was,
I think, you do enough SNL, you host a talk show, you think, oh, who can you meet that would actually... And she's something else.
Yeah.
Wow.
She's Julia Roberts in person.
Got it.
Yeah.
Did that happen with Taylor?
Taylor Swift?
Yeah.
The last time I saw Taylor, I made an ass of myself and I was very anxious and she called me out on it. I was like, it was her and Travis Kelce. I go, I texted you in August a mega mix on YouTube of your songs and I'm so sorry. And she goes, what? And I go, I was on ketamine and I'm really, really sorry. I shouldn't have done that. And she was like, and then I apologized to Travis about something, and then she goes, I think this is just your anxiety. And I was like, you're right, bye. It was, I think there are moments like that where I go, oh, working at SNL and doing a show like this where it makes me worse at talking to famous people.
Sometimes it does.
And
you feel that way?
I don't know. I think I'm going through like some Joseph Campbellian thing where I'm like going to circle back to like being okay, but right now I'm in a weird spot with it.
This is maybe 10, hopefully I haven't told this story too much, but 10, 12 years ago maybe, she'd hosted SNL. My wife and I were somewhere at maybe the Time 100 event, and she was there. And went up and said hello. My wife's a big fan of hers. And we said, oh, we're going to Nashville. We had never been. And she said, oh my God, give me your email. I'll tell you where to go. And I gave my email to Taylor Swift. And 2 days later, the longest, most helpful email, I would say 8 mini paragraphs about different places to go in Nashville. And this is still, she's not Taylor Swift of today, but she's Taylor Swift.
She was at the Time 100.
She is established Taylor Swift.
Yeah. I mean, some people also, like, I've noticed that when people are like, let me make recommendations, and they mean that, some people really love to do that. They're like, it's like a power people have. It's I forget the name of every restaurant I ever go to.
I also don't want the burden of people. I don't want them to put their vacation in my hands.
No, absolutely not. Like I couldn't possibly project my interests onto yours.
Is it because you question your own taste?
Or their reaction to my own taste.
Right.
Got it. So it's insecurity.
Yes, it's insecurity. That's 100% it. My dad, my parents got into town. I live in the West Village. Yeah. And my dad said he's staying at a hotel nearby with my mom. And he said, we're going to have lunch with your brother. I'm like, great. He goes, are there good places to have lunch downtown? And I'm like, there are
tons.
A million
good places.
It's New York City. Don't make me tell you.
But could you say even one? No.
I couldn't say.
No.
Well, also, because my dad is, to his, I guess if you think honesty is a virtue, will tell you what he thought of every restaurant you ever sent him to.
Okay.
So then you're just protecting yourself.
I'm protecting myself.
Yeah.
But the tricky one, which brings me a little bit of shame, is Amsterdam. People always ask me about Amsterdam. And it's that weird thing where you say, I haven't lived there for 25 years. Yeah, exactly. And when I lived there 25 years ago, I had no money. And so I don't actually.
And it was like 3 presidents ago.
Yeah.
It's just not.
They had a different government.
Right.
Yeah, like.
Yeah, well, Bowen will just say, we got to go to the Soho House. Bowen will go to every international Soho House. You are their number one gay.
I'm not. It's only because I don't know. We're in Berlin. I'm like, I've never been here before. I don't know where to go. Let's go to the Soho House.
They serve Mexican food there.
At the German Soho House. It's
you haven't had Mexican until you had it at the German Soho House.
I want to have like a membership somewhere, but I don't know where, because then you get I feel like you get clocked sometimes. Like, okay, so
they're not supposed to clock you.
No, not clocked in terms of like we see who you are. It's just like I feel like people are like, oh, you're a member there. You know what I mean?
I know. But that's part of that's part of the exchange.
I went to Berlin once with some SNL people, and I'm going to tell you the name of an SNL person who still works there, who rocked so hard in Berlin. and it's going to blow your mind.
Can you tell me now?
I'm going to tell you their name.
Okay.
Eric Kenward.
Oh, Eric Kenward.
Crushed.
Yes. Last choice, right? Eric,
It's not totally unsurprising.
yes, but Eric Kenward, we were out in Berlin. Everywhere we went, we would be at sort of underground bars. It would be 3 a.m, and we would say, "All right, we're going to go." He's like, "Yeah, I might go check out another place." I guess like he would have gone to the bar and met some other German, and he is, because he's very on top of it.
Yeah. Very put together person.
Very put together person, and a whole different version of him came out in Berlin. And one night we went to a nightclub in Berlin, and the next morning he said he goes, I think I left my passport at the club.
Oh my God.
And it was the funniest thing because it was, 10 a.m. and we went back, like a German nightclub at 10 a.m. Looks
Still
like there
open.
was it was like the amount of locks on the doors. It's like, this might not open again
Ever.
for day.
Yes,
it doesn't
yes,
look, it looks like a condemned. And I'll bring it back to one of the credits you mentioned. And thank you very much for doing that. New Year's Eve. So I was in the film New Year's Eve. It was my final film. My swan
It's on
song.
Delta, by the way.
Is
You
it on
can
Delta?
watch it on Delta.
You know what? I will say I've been in the kind of movies that I have seen on the back of seats where people then flip.
No. But you still get residual.
I think if they started, I get a result. So one of my co-stars in that movie is a guy named Till Schweiger, who is a German actor. He was in Inglourious Basterds.
Yep.
And he had said to me, if you're ever in Germany, here's my number. And I assume, I was like, I'm never going to see him again.
Yeah.
We worked, it was like 3 days we worked on that movie.
Yeah.
And then I'm in Germany, I'm like, and he had told me I'm a huge star in Germany. And so I text Till Schweiger, and I'm like, hey, I'm with like 5 friends. And he goes, oh my God, where are you? I'm like, here. He goes, come over to my house. So we went over, and he was the nicest. He said, I've got a bunch of bikes. We'll all get bikes. And he's the guy who took us to this nightclub. And by the way, he was like, everywhere you went, you heard people be like, "Das ist Til Schweiger." Like everybody, even on bikes, people be like, "Das ist Til Schweiger." And so, anyway, he's like, come out on my boat the morning. So Kenward loses his passport, and we get on Til Schweiger's boat, and Kenward's like, I think I got to go to the embassy, or because we got to fly. And Til's like, what happened? I'm like, he left his passport at the club last night. He's like, yeah, hold on a second. And he just like, it's some version of like, yeah, is it Til Schweiger? My friend in Kenward is passport. And yeah, it's good. And he's like, they have it. And he just like called, like knew, like he had like the phone number to like club owners in Berlin.
That's incredible.
And it was immediately like, it'll be at your hotel. And so that was that was
so
the best.
European.
A lot of, you know what? I will say, I did not enjoy my time on film sets. I felt very out of my depths.
Okay.
But New Year's Eve was a great experience.
Yes.
Who was your wife in that?
Jessica Biel.
Jessica Biel.
So
Oh
that's a
my
nice thing, just as a credit.
Yeah.
But the other couple was Til Schweiger and Sarah Paulson.
Oh, lovely.
So it was a really nice foursome. And
Was that Garry Marshall?
it was Garry Marshall.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
wow.
Garry Marshall, who I love. I loved him so much. And he was a Northwestern guy.
Yeah.
And I remember one of the days I had a scene where I was going to run down the hallway because Jessica's water had broken.
Yeah.
I do not remember her character's name. I apologize. Okay. I was running down the hallway. I was going to bump into an old lady and apologize to her. And I remember Garry came up to me. He goes, I want you to think of your favorite teacher you ever had. And whatever her name was, when you bump into this lady, you're going to say, I'm sorry, Mrs. Whatever her name was. And she's going to watch it and she's going to say, look at it. He remembers me all these. Anyway, it's so sweet. And then end of the day, we run long. We have to cut the scene. But he comes in, he goes, I'm cutting the scene. Will you promise me you're going to call her?
Oh my!
You did not.
No, I did not.
You did
I
not.
think also the thing that I had never had to tell her, I'm like, I'm pretty sure she's long dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
That's a
think-
scary thought of like, because your favorite teachers when you were young,
might have passed.
they old now, or you'd see them and they would look like so different.
Oh,
like I'm scared.
Yeah. You had to bring it to that.
I had to bring it there. You know what? I was looking at the New Year's Eve thing, and there's so many stars. Leah Michelle.
So many stars. And none of us met each other because everything was siloed off.
Siloed.
It wasn't like one of those movies where we all meet up at the end.
So you're not in your future. You don't see more on camera acting.
I do not. And I feel great. I had a moment, I remember, where I decided I wasn't going to do that anymore. And I was the relief I felt was
Wow,
the most.
that's so
It was
interesting.
so lovely.
Well,
and
we have a part for you.
Do you?
In,
I
big movie.
any big movie with you two. If it's the case where I get to play Seth Meyers.
Oh, he looked at me and he was like, the one we're talking about. Well, actually, what are you a role?
I was, but
You'd be easy to write
that's
for.
what I was going at. I was like, I think this is just a challenge. For
I
us
have to say,
write a role for
your Gary just now, your Garry Marshall just now was unbelievable.
Well, that's
Very
look,
good
Put a
Gary.
camera on you there. That's an Oscar nomination for the biopic.
I have a perfect level of impersonation for my current job, which is very undercooked, but like grabbing the essence of.
Yes.
There was a moment in time where the beginnings or the idea of a Stefan script was being discussed.
Right. I'm
Like
sure.
would Millennium Bill write one? And this was not a scene that was ever written, but I did have a pitch for myself and Stefan.
Yes.
Which was because I knew it was going to be Stefan and James Franco, whoever his.
Right.
It wasn't going to be me and Stefan.
But you figure in. So
I figured in, so I said, here's how I think it should start. It should start with Stefan and Weekend Update. And then when it's over, once again, I'm so disappointed that as the city correspondent, he did not bring whatever St. Patrick's Day tips.
Right.
And he said, look, to make it up for you, just come out with me one night. Just come out, have a night, me and you together as Stefan's New York. And I'm like, all right, one night. And then you would just do these super fast cuts of he and I and all these crazy clubs. And then that would be the opening montage. And then it would end with me in a body bag. And then just zip it up. And Stefan would say, he's dead. And then then the splash Stefan, the movie. And then it would be about him falling in love. That would be.
that is the most beautiful bridge out of.
I thought it was
that
a
world.
good bridge out.
That's so
That
good.
is so funny. And honestly, 15 years before, they would have made that movie. I think.
1000%.
It was,
1000%.
yeah. I mean, I think that was a real, Bill had a good sense of, because again, it
When
is
to retire it.
still pristine to have an
Yeah.
SNL character that, also that was the
Spotless.
greatest gift to me as far as, I thought my job was just to be Stefan's foil.
Yeah.
And then very slowly,
No.
him and Mulaney wrote this, it was my romantic comedy. I kind of can't believe I got to be in it.
It really developed into something gorgeous. It was.
It had a true
Stefan
arc.
was a moment in culture.
Yeah.
that was incredible.
I cried. We both. It was Bill's last show was that.
Yeah.
Him getting married to Anderson Cooper, and we had to, and me saving the wedding, and Bill and I ran off stage, or he ran off, and then I followed him, and then it went to the pre-tape, and then Bill and I were backstage, right outside the control room, wardrobe, if you can picture, and we're watching the pre-tape, and now he's wearing a veil, and we're holding hands, and it was Bill's last show, and it was Sudeikis' last show, and Fred's last show, I think, and so the previous year had been Andy and Wiggs, so. For me, end of the era. I also know I'm leaving next year to host Late Night. And Bill and I are holding hands, and we're both starting to cry.
Oh my God.
And I was so funny because I remember I was getting married a few months later, and I'm like, if I don't cry at my real wedding.
Did you?
I did.
Yeah,
But like that. But it was
You're a
like,
crier, yes.
oh yes. But
What's your
only
sign?
happy Capricorn.
Oh, okay.
I'm a real happy crier. I rarely cry out of sadness,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I
yeah.
will.
I'm a happy crier too.
If I, one of the great things in life is, for me, is telling people how much you love them and how much they mean to you.
That is so wonderful. I think that happens. I think if I've ever cried, it's been a happy thing. I don't think I've ever cried for a sad thing on here.
On here,
Yeah.
I've definitely cried for sad. I've
yes,
done
you
both.
have.
I have a nice
You have a beautiful
sort of range of
range of emotion. Mm-hmm. I've tried to cry. Not even tried to cry, but I realized the other day, so I got on Lexapro this year, and I feel like it's made me unable to cry. And it's been hard to not have that because I do identify as a crier.
Yeah.
So then I thought maybe I'll get off of it. I miss crying. And then you realize, no.
It's not the
Because if
reason
you
to
get
get
off
off
of it, you might cry all the time.
Yeah. Can you just lower the dose so I get 2 or 3
Yeah.
good cries?
Do you know what Weekend Update character I always feel should have come back, and it came in her last year, and you know who I'm going to talk about.
I know who you're going to talk about.
Flirting expert Rebecca LaRue.
It's unbelievable.
I think it was her best work ever.
Here's
which is
how
saying
good
a
it
lot.
was.
But that's her her lot. Go.
Well, I will just say, here's how good it was.
It was so
While it was going on, I had a moment where I thought, am I going to fuck Kristen? It literally is so... It's so
real.
So real.
And it was such an indictment of the kind of girls that I was into before I met my wife.
Oh my
because
God,
they were just, I was
obsessed.
like having this weird flashback to like, this is nice. She's making me feel nice.
This is so funny. Because that's why it's so funny, is because that is a person in the world.
And that's how they.
That is how they are.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, so there's a big. You can access dress rehearsal footage for every single episode that's ever aired.
I love this.
And I was so curious. I was like, how did Rebecca LaRue play a dress?
Oh, I don't even know.
Do you not remember?
I have no memory.
I went back and watched the dress version of that, and I read the script. Completely different. Almost completely different. And like it didn't, and I'm gonna say, and I think it's okay that I say this, didn't necessarily play a dress.
Really?
And it's one of those things where I go, that's amazing. That they're like, we know what to change, we know how to fix this. And by the time it got to air, it was perfect.
How would you characterize the changes?
It was just like she didn't open her legs.
Yeah.
A dress. She didn't. I think she like underplayed it. She like was like a little bit. I think she was coy for too long, and like it didn't like it didn't have a breaking moment by the end. Like it was just they really fixed it up by the time it got to air.
Because I think I'm at risk of saying, well, that was the wig era where she knew it would go through no matter what, but that was never her style.
Sure, no,
but that
no,
wasn't.
I'm sure.
She never counted on anything.
Right,
So
right.
I don't even think it was a case of her being like, I'm going to pace myself. I do think it was a case of her being smart enough. Probably wrote it with Kent, James, I'm going to guess, where they knew how to fix it.
Yeah.
And that is, I mean, so early on when I was doing Update alone, Shoemaker, who's my producer, Mike Shoemaker, he now claims that he maybe made this up to give me a note because he said, look, they've done some testing on you as a solo Update host. And one of the things they said is they don't like when you don't like the guest. The viewer doesn't like when I'm mad. And I will say, I think that was sort of a bygone comedy move of just being frustrated. Like if I was always frustrated with Stefan, it would have been less fun. And so I gave myself permission to just enjoy guests. And with that said, there's still so many moments knowing that there were dress rehearsals of all those characters where they were so capable. That group of people was so capable of still being surprising like 2 hours later.
Yeah.
But that is the thing where like, I think Alex Bays pointed this out. Like the most flattering thing that ever came out of me doing the Iceberg was like Henry was telling me that Alex Bays was telling Henry that like the Iceberg is so crazy because it's usually Colin or Seth or Che or whoever's at the Update desk being like, hey, come on, guests, like stop doing that. But this was a reversal where it was Colin being like, come on, like teasing something out of the guest being like, no, won't you give us something? Won't you talk about like the Titanic sinking for a little bit? And it's the guest who's like, no, I'm not going to do that. And I was like, oh, like that had never occurred to me and Anna Dresden that like that's what we were doing. But like that is the thing that like that's another ingrained thing about SNL. It's like, oh, whoever's at the Update desk is like trying to like tamp down the fun of whatever's going on with the guest or something.
Yes, absolutely.
But like
it was definitely, people will say, how did you not laugh during Stefan? And I'll say, I think I laughed all the time. I think that was part of the fun of it. When you go back, like I allowed myself, one of my friends, Neil Brennan said, he goes, I like to think of Update as the last place anyone can get their clients booked. Like everyone they've had just like, look, Morning Joe will not have Stefan back. He's a persona non grata, but they think, if we could just, he promises. And so that was another funny way to think about it, which is this is the last place where any of these people can be on.
That's such a good frame.
Yep, totally. Well, I think it's time.
It might be time.
I don't think so, honey.
Oh, this, Seth, is our 1 minute segment that we do. It's where we sort of drag something in culture for, let's say, a minute. And we say, I don't think so, honey, throughout. I have something, and it's not to attack London. It's to make an observation again about something I've said in the past. Because let me just get into it.
Okay, this is Matt Rogers. I don't think so. Honey's time starts now.
I don't think so, honey. The showers in London.
Oh.
I've come for the water closets and the situations with the toilets being in a separate
Yeah.
room. I have a huge bruise on my ass right now. I collapsed in the shower. I didn't even feel I collapsed. It was more than what Julia Roberts does for comedic effect. It was a full collapse, okay? I have to tell you, what we're trying to do, I appreciate that the shower and the toilet were in the same room, but when the room is too small, that means the shower is too small as well. The shower too small, I collapsed. The bruise on my ass.
30 seconds.
I was, of course, because this is the horniest time of the year, DMing with people about potentially hooking up with them in the days prior to Thanksgiving. Because people get super horny in the DMs this time of year. I told you this on your show.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
I can't hook up with anyone right now because of the
15
gangrenous
seconds.
bruise on my ass right now. I would show you, but I just don't think everyone wants to see it. I have to say, it's bad. It's limiting, and it's because
5
of the
seconds.
size of the shower. I don't think so, honey. The way we're set up to fail in London in these certain rooms.
In with the plumbing. That's so scary.
I have to tell you, it was just a thing where I was like in a shower and I was just like, okay, well, if I can't really move. And it's like, you know, when there's like too much room, you have fun in the shower and you're kind of moving around.
I don't move around that much.
You stand right under, what's your shower style? You stand right under the water?
and then I'll reach and grab a bottle of something. But I'm not really using the space.
I like to sort of very much move around in the shower. It's not dancing, I would say.
That there's a hazard. In
Well,
that.
sure, but it never
I feel like
happens to
your
me in
lawyer,
America.
if you're going to take legal action against this hotel, your lawyer right now is stop talking. Matt,
Seth?
you are putting yourself in a hard position to sue.
And okay, so then they had what was called a rubber mat,
Okay.
which I guess I was supposed to put down.
What hotel
But
is
then
that?
I'm not saying because
okay.
Yeah.
no, I'm because my lawyer Seth, your lawyer too,
Could be
right?
anywhere.
He'll be like, I don't know, because I think this Seth is right. But I will say I open up
our
the
lawyer's
rubber
name is
mat.
actually Seth, by the way.
Oh, great.
Our
Yeah,
lawyer's
yeah,
name
yeah.
is Seth. Silent killers. We love our lawyers. They were described to us before we hired them as silent killers.
Were they really?
I was not. They were not described as that to me.
We had a manager who was like, "You're gonna want these guys. They're silent killers.
So
They're not the kind
funny.
of lawyers that's in people's face.
They're
silent
they're
killers.
lovely, very very good lawyers.
They love when we talk about them on the show too. We always get a text.
That's great.
Well, Seth always texts. Isaac's not really a texter.
Isaac's a texter, yeah.
Well, not with me.
Oh,
Fuck.
okay.
He's a silent text.
He's that's what it is. I'm just not seeing it. So I open the rubber mat and it's like yellow and looks nasty. And I'm like, I'm not putting my feet on that, especially as someone who's a survivor of athlete's foot.
Right.
I had athlete's foot for about 9 months.
Oh,
And I realized it was because I had to have my shower washed.
But can I say that you having a bruise on your ass does not necessarily preclude you from hooking up with anybody? Some people
Can
might
I
like
say?
that.
It's not like a cute bruise. I'm like,
That's not up to you.
all right,
That's up to the other person.
I guess, should I run the risk?
I think you should. Also, I disagree that this is the horniest time of year.
In a month, it will be the horniest time of year.
It's actually
Don't
not.
disagree with me.
Everyone's
Just me on record. This
so
is a thing for me in
busy.
press.
Okay.
busy. Interesting. So it's not weather related or like where our bodies are at during the holiday. It's just busy.
It's just that everyone's busy.
It's about to become the horniest time of year because I said this on his show, but it's like,
No, I know you did, and I yeah. But
well, for everyone listening at home that didn't watch my incredible segment on Seth
very,
Meyers, which we
very
all
strong.
can agree was
both
a star
Seth
making
and Henry
moment.
texted me. They were like, Matt was so funny. I said, I have no doubt.
And then I said to you, I was like, you have Seth's number? I was like, what are you guys in a group chat called Lauren's Faves?
Called Lauren.
I said,
Called the Laurenettes.
The Laurenettes.
Laurenettes.
Lauren's boys. So, but what was I saying? Oh, so in a little while, it will become the thing where people are like at home for a little bit too long. And I'm telling you, this is when you shoot your shot with the person that you have flirted with before a little bit, but it's never gone there.
Mm-hmm.
I bet back in the day, and you can say, back in the day, certain hosts came through, lady hosts, that were into it.
Jennifer Lawrence admitted to having a crush.
But yeah, I will say this. Mulaney once said this. He goes, "Did you know we could flirt with a host?" I was like, "No," because I feel like a lot of people did very well. Andy Samberg,
Really?
yes, I think Sudeikis, and then
I
it
would
never
imagine.
occurred to me. I mean, I will say, Bowen, I feel like every day for me at SNL as head writer was Christmas. I was too busy. I was just too busy.
Just
Thank
too
you.
busy.
Just too busy.
I was just too busy.
But you occupied a space there where probably they were and you probably knew that they were coming on, but you were like, I got it.
I don't think my radar for that was not up. I will say
Really?
I I was as shocked as anyone when I heard that bounce from Jennifer Lawrence.
Wow.
Yeah, shocked.
Not surprising to me at all. Yeah. But I mean, but you had every Rebecca LaRue in the city.
I had my LaRue years. Oh, my LaRue years.
Wow. We need to have our LaRue years. Are they happening now and we just don't know it?
I think I'm letting them slip away.
I did. I think I had a moment that maybe there was a nightclub I used to go to that a friend of mine now's kids were having their bar mitzvah at. It was just that moment is starting to happen where we were talking about like New York City. Now, like it's one thing when there used to be a theater there. Even worse if it's the thing you used to go to still there and now it's this.
And now it's for venues to go through generations.
Yeah, like to look at a corner where you like made out with a Rebecca LaRue and like there's like a 13-year-old like growing up.
Not good.
Not good.
Anyway, I'm just nervous about the bruise on my ass. And then I feel like it's that weird thing where if I go to hook up with someone, I'm like, Jesse, there's a fucking huge bruise on my ass. And then I'm kind of scared of the reaction where if they're really enthusiastic. I'm sort of over the thing where guys like try to like hurt me during sex now.
No, that's out. That's out.
It's out. It's out. And if you're in my DMs being like, like some people really can't stop with the whole thing of like, I'm going to come over and choke you, or I'm going to come over and like, you're going to be in an immense amount of pain. I'm like, what is it? Yeah. What is it?
I don't know.
That's a real reverse LaRue.
That's
a very different vibe than my
reverse LaRue.
This just speaks back to a very hornier time in my life. I remember once being with a girl who was in your situation, but I remember she said, I have a boil that I need lanced, and I don't want to. I'd never hooked up with her.
A boil I need lanced!
And I remember being like, I'm sure it's fine. I literally, even that,
care.
Which is the word, I was like, it's fine. And I think that we should just
still do it.
And she was like, no, let me
lance the boil
Let
first.
me lance the boil. But at the time, I was like, this is, you know what? Why are we getting hung up on boils?
It seemed like she was asking you to lance it.
I would, you think?
Maybe.
Come over with your lance. Seth
Lance
Meyers. Okay, well, yeah, anyway, I guess in a couple days' time when this episode is out, maybe it'll have gone down a little bit. I'm winking at the camera. But I'll be home with my goddamn parents. And I have to say, Long Island Grindr sucks.
Yeah, it's tough out there.
But maybe I can find a straight guy. I'm still trying to figure that out.
We can't get
Anyway,
into
this is Bowen. I don't think so, honey. Are you excited about this?
I'm excited.
Do you have something that you've been thinking about for a long time?
Not a long time, but it's top of mind.
Okay, well, a lot of people are going to listen to this one. It's the Seth Meyers episode.
Right.
This is Bowen Yang's I Don't Think So, Honey. Time starts now.
I don't think so, honey. Weighted blankets. I am. What is that? Oh, I thought it was a sound. These are so dangerous. These are so dangerous. These will kill me. I'm waking up groggy as hell because of this fucking X-ray apron on my chest. And why are some of them filled with glass beads?
What?
Is this the cock on a Thursday night? Get the beads out. And I'm sorry to shame the people who like the beads in them. Get the beads out of my blankets. Because it's not. And how come half of them aren't machine washable? I'm supposed to spot treat these things that are disgusting and heavy? No way. I better be able to put it in my drum, in my little machine,
15.
and clean them. Otherwise, I'm getting the factory smell on me, and that is not going to relax me. These weighted blankets are going to ruin my sleep and my life, and if you get me one for Christmas or anyone you love for Christmas, you're wishing death upon your loved one.
And that's 1 minute.
It's not.
I have one and I don't really use it, and I think it's a novelty. I think you should just.
They're gonna be. We're all gonna laugh at how much we supposedly loved these things in a couple of years.
I also think the bane of a weighted blanket is when you decide you hate it, almost impossible to throw out.
You can't get rid of it.
Yeah.
You're gonna
Where
have
are
it
you
forever. It's gonna be whenever you move out of your apartment, you're gonna leave it as a welcome to the next person.
And you're never going to move out of that apartment.
They're not getting anywhere near that than the next person.
Anyway. I think that they're really good in theory, but what I fear about the weighted blanket is what actually is it doing to our backs and our bodies? Because I don't think that can be good for you. Because you're not really supposed to sleep with them on, right? You're supposed to like rest with them.
Some people say that you can sleep with them and that they're helpful for sleep, and yet.
For back problems?
I was talking to our friend Amber Ruffin about this yesterday.
I saw her yesterday.
I saw her yesterday as well.
Oh, yeah.
And she said, My fear is that I'm going to be too weak to get out of it. And that's a fair concern.
But I am laughing thinking about Amber
Struggling.
under a weighted blanket being like,
Late, late for work.
yeah, just
Late for work.
I gotta go to work. Oh no!
Before I do my I don't think so, honey. There was something in a recent episode that struck home for me.
Wait, can I ask you? Are you a reader? Like, what's going on? How do you identify?
I guess a reader.
Yeah, you're a
Is that-
reader.
I'm a
You're
reader.
a finalist. Though.
No, you're
So-
a finalist. You're a finalist.
Okay.
So,
So,
what did we say?
Donna Karan. Donna.
Karan.
Yeah.
Donna
So
Karan.
here was mine. I had one, which is my mom, my entire life, said Tommy Hilfiger.
Tommy Hilfiger. That's huge. My mother would say that.
And I did not, it never got corrected because I think then it was a catalog that came to our home and my dad wore a lot of Tommy Hilfiger. But then there was nothing to correct it for me.
Right.
And then I did a charity event for Tommy Hilfiger. And it was, thank God, I wrote my jokes and I showed it to Shoemaker. And thank God I spelled it Hilfiger. And because I was ready. And he goes, I'm going to say something and I don't want you to be offended. Do you think his name is Tommy Hilfiger? I'm like, I 100% think his name. He goes, it is not Tommy Hilfiger. It is Tommy Hilfiger. I'm like, oh my God, this could have been a disaster. To get it wrong
in front of him
at an event honoring him.
Terrible.
That's like
that
saying
was-
Jimmy Buffet.
Jimmy Buffet.
That
at
was-
his funeral.
We got James Buffet.
Rest in peace.
Oh, rest in
Rest in
peace.
peace.
Were you a parrot head?
I never cared about it. It was a thing. I will say there was a moment but so whatever. 92 to, wait, hold on. Let me really get this right. I was high school, 89 to 92. There were a lot of kids who loved Jimmy Buffett.
Yeah, I mean,
Like we would go to parties and that would be, there was like a Elton John box set came out that year. And there was a lot of Buffett and John. That was that.
And this is in
New Hampshire. Suburban New Hampshire.
Suburban New Hampshire.
yeah, I think it's a thing. And
It's an access point for a lifestyle that is so far away from you,
yeah.
especially if you're in New Hampshire or maybe even.
Yeah.
The day he
Illinois?
died, my dad was at the beach crying a tear and pouring one out.
Good for him.
Yeah, he was a massive.
Good. I mean, I do
Yes.
think it, and that was a very nice, I mean, talk about a non-toxic culture, right?
Yeah, totally.
Perfect
Who do
culture.
you stan?
Who do I stan? I feel like I'm outgrowing my stan years. Like
That's
a lot of
okay.
the things I've stanned, I don't even know who I stan anymore.
In the, let's say, the last person that you were like, I'm gonna really, like, I'm gonna listen to the whole discography. I'm gonna familiarize myself with this person, these people, because I love them so much.
Well, okay, so this music critic I really wrote he did make a list of his 50 favorite Elton John songs. And there were a lot of them that I didn't. Like I realized I'm like, oh, I didn't know. And there's a lot of 70s Elton stuff that's really great.
Yes.
And not radio friendly because they're 9-minute songs.
right. Yeah,
And so
yeah,
I
yeah.
had a very nice summer of listening to a lot of long Elton John songs.
Elton John is one that I got my dad the Goodbye Yellow Brick Road vinyl, and he got really way more excited than I thought he would, and it excited me how excited he was.
Yeah.
Perfect album.
Yeah.
Would you stand? I think Jeff Tweedy, but he's a friend.
He's friendly now, but I do stan Wilco.
Wilco. Seth, are you ready for I Don't Think So, Honey?
I was so ready for I Don't Think So, Honey, and I hope it's all fine.
What are your hopes?
Yeah, I'm gonna just do it.
What are your hopes for this?
My hopes is that, it's gonna be holiday themed.
Okay.
Great.
And I really do. Rockefeller Center, that's one of your songs, right?
You're in
And
it.
your name
I
dropped
know,
in
and
it.
I was a little worried because Fallon gets name dropped early, and so then you worry and I would not begrudge the choice.
No, you made it.
And so I'm very happy that I find my way in later. In the
I
song.
forgot to bring that up when I was on your show.
I was like,
Yeah.
Did you know that you were in the song?
I did not know I was in the song when you were on. I knew I was in the song because I listened to the album after you were on, and I was very happy. Because when I heard Fallon early, I was like, oh boy.
Oh shit.
I wouldn't, but again, that was the right choice. But
Yeah,
But I was
I
glad
think what's fun about that is starting with Jimmy and then going to Al and then landing at Jenna Bush Hager.
Absolutely,
And Jenna
yes.
Bush Hager is a laugh line. And that's actually Real Culture number 18. Jenna
Jenna
Bush
Bush
Hager
Hager
is a laugh line.
Yeah. I will
She's actually one of
be-
my favorite people in culture.
I think I'm going to see her tomorrow.
Really?
great.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Lucky.
I'll tell her how you guys say hello.
We love her.
We're about
Yeah.
to see her too.
We're about to see her
Oh,
too.
are you really?
Yes.
Her house or yours? No, I mean, is she coming?
We're going to
We're gonna
her
go to her
Okay,
house.
gotcha.
But I mean, you coming right before Cecily Strong, really, I think.
Seth
is
Meyers, Cecily Strong, Meredith Vieira.
That made
Kelly
me very
Clarkson.
happy. Yeah, that was, and you know who was really happy? Verizon Corporate. That was the dream.
Both of you get Verizon money if you're next to each other.
If you put one person between us, no payday. No.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the peek behind the curtain about that song. So I'm writing that part because I wanted to have you do it.
You were thinking Verizon?
And I said, you know what? I said, I don't care what anyone thinks. Ann Curry is going in this song. Because I know Ann Curry is controversial in all of it, but I was like, I don't care. This is my fight song. Like Ann Curry, all respect to Ann Curry is the lyric, and that is true forever.
Yeah.
Love her.
Love Ann.
Love Ann.
And for the pod. She'd be an incredible guest.
She really would be.
You think?
Yeah. Okay, this is Seth Meyers' holiday themed. I don't think so, honey.
Right.
This time starts now.
I don't think so, honey, out-of-towners who visit the Rockefeller Christmas tree. This is an office. It's a place of work.
Office.
Just listen to Matt's song.
Yeah.
People work there.
Yeah.
And I get it, but I think you all come from places where there are a lot of trees to go see. Is it just that there's one tree amongst buildings? If you put one building amongst the forest, I wouldn't come and visit it. Also, you can look at the weather before you visit New York City, and sometimes, I hate to say it, but due to climate change, it's not 0 degrees, so don't wear your biggest coat because that's basically each person is 2 people, and we don't have enough room in the concourse for that.
Yeah.
Here's the biggest thing, though. If you go to the tree lighting, I have so much respect for you to be there in person when they light the thing up. Just look at it. Just enjoy the moment because too many of you hold up your phones and you try to take a photo of the moment the lights go on. That's an impossible moment to take because you either get the moment before the lights are on or the moment the lights are on. And this is a thing. You're there. You fought through the crowds. Just watch it. Just live in the moment.
100%.
And but a Merry Christmas to all. And I do appreciate you.
And that's
1 minute.
You're actually dead right. And the thing about needing to document the tree lighting is they're grabbing that.
They're grabbing it.
They're actually grabbing it. There's professionals that are grabbing it for you. So you can actually have that moment documented. You don't need to be the one to do it. I promise you, there's actually a huge televised special where they're getting it.
Flip it around, get you and your family, but with the tree in the background. No one's going to say you shouldn't do that. But just that moment of trying to be there. I was there when a light went on. So you can't take that photo.
Yeah. Dude, what is that? How does that play into your own Christmas experience? I think everyone's fine just looking at the tree from Saks Fifth Avenue and then keeping it moving.
We would come in from Long Island to see it, and even as a like, you know, like pre-ironic, like whatever. When I was in like middle school, I was just like, look, like I get we're going into the city to see a show. Like I understand this culture, but the tree was like, I never got the tree. And I think that's where the song comes from. It's just like, this is so silly. But like,
your song is great because you respect it as a place of work. That you are singing a song about a holiday place, but what I like about the lyrics is you keep reminding people that this is where people work.
But it also encourages voyeurism and it encourages the encroachment of privacy. And I'm happy you're here so I can apologize to you about that because I think you're really on the map because of my song. I think people are going to be on the hunt.
I didn't realize. So speaking about nobody on the hunt, like when, you know, if BTS is on Fallon, there's so many people outside.
Right.
Yeah.
And talk about a Venn diagram where it's 2 circles.
Yeah.
Like I can walk through it and like nobody, and again, I walk out with a couple security guys. So there's a moment where you're like, is it? You know, like you look, you know, if you see a guy, you know, you say, and nothing. And I found out at SNL after the fact that like there were people in my cast who at the end of the show would go to the basement to get cars.
Wow.
You don't do that. We don't. I've been with you.
And I'm starting to get, when I walked out now, not the biggest response anymore.
What are you talking about?
And it's fine. It's actually, it's a beautiful moment. I'm like, yeah, that's not, I'm not like wet behind, I'm not like the new
that's
guy.
Literally not true. I think that you're probably just used to it.
No. I think they're used to me and they're like, oh, there's Bowen.
The glamour of walking from those doors to the cars and like when like it's like the thing of they recognize you. I never think that's ever gonna like happen for me. And then when I was at BravoCon, I got out of a car at BravoCon and walked, and it was people were screaming like I was BTS. I was like, why? Because I've been on Watch What Happens Live a handful of times, and that is
that's
why.
Enough
the Bravo people
great.
They're chef's kiss, the way they act.
Lovely people.
2001 SNL, I feel like was the end of an era. I feel like it was the the last vestiges of Sex in the City, New York, before it shifted to the post 9/11.
Yes.
And the cars to the SNL after party were stretch limousines, like old school prommy stretch limousines.
Yep.
And so, now I think it's all
just
like
SUVs.
town cars or SUVs.
Yeah.
And so it was such a trip when I would have high school friends or college friends come to the show, and it was everything you wanted it to be, where you'd like get into a
limo.
stretch limousine.
Kyle Mooney would still get one every week before he
That's
paid for his-
so
paid for his
funny.
himself. Yeah. It was so.
Talk about a Disney person.
Oh, Kyle.
Kyle will fuck it up at Disney.
Oh, I bet.
He goes with Fran Gillespie.
Fran and Beck and
Beck?
They all go.
I
yeah,
love
yeah,
Beck.
yeah. I love Beck.
Beck and I were at Sarah Schneider and Mike Carnell's wedding. And it was in Virginia. And I went on my own, and I got like a room that was like a 2-room like villa-y type. It's not a villa because it was like all colonial. But
Yeah.
anyway, you'd walk in the front door, you go right, and it was one hotel room, and left, and it was the other. And they were like each suites. And it was a wedding where I was on my own and had a nice time. And then I went back. I was going to drive back first thing in the morning. And Beck had people to his room. And it was the funniest thing. It was so loud and dumb. And it kept me up. But Beck was doing the dumbest bits it was making me laugh so hard. Usually, because it was just, I was like, he would be so devastated if he knew how
you heard.
It's like somebody rolled a bed with me in it into the middle of the room. That's how well I heard. And he did write me the nicest note, because I think in the morning he slowly put it together. He was like,
Sure.
oh no, and it was really sweet.
One of our biggest sweeties.
Love.
Love that guy.
Love that guy.
Anyway.
Speaking of loving that guy,
Love this guy.
period.
This was everything I wanted it to be. My favorite thing was when it started and Matt said, I have a surprise for you, and you literally heard a rustle and guessed it exactly.
Exactly.
It really speaks to how in sync you two are.
Well, listen, I have a psychic connection to him, and honestly, it's really, we have Emily to thank, because when she gave me this for you, I was like, I should have, and then I got friend guilt because I was like, why didn't I already think to do this? And I got in the elevator today to go down from my apartment to come here, and I had forgotten them, and I said, let me go back. I was like, I have to get this to my girl.
And still you got here before I did.
yeah,
That's amazing.
minutes
Love you.
before. Don't
This
feel
was
bad.
such an honor and a pleasure to be here with you guys.
Are you kidding?
This is just the best.
I
You guys are so good. You're so good at many things, but
Well-
you are the two of you together doing this has been just so happy to be here in person.
This is the best.
is
And thank
the
God we
best.
could do it in person, and it's caught on film.
Yeah.
And
you
can
all.
we give it up for the crew?
Give it up for the crew.
Because
Give it up
here
for the
they
crew.
are. They've been so great. Did you guys enjoy yourselves today? All right.
There we go.
Yes. This is incredible. You got to watch Late Night with Seth Meyers. You probably already are, because we have such a cool audience with a great sense of humor.
You guys will. You might have to come on our podcast one day.
Oh,
Really
yeah.
love
That.
Great.
We have trip stories for sure.
Great.
Between our
We have
families
trip
and with each other.
stories.
I have
there
no
was
doubt.
we've told the story many times, but Bowen almost threw up on a plane, and I got mad at him.
He got mad at me for feeling nausea on a plane.
Great.
Well, we'll talk about that on the Daily Trips. We end every episode with a song. Why is this one in my head? Goodbye, Ruby Tuesdays. Because I was thinking. I was thinking about Elton John, but that's not Elton John.
No.
But I feel like psychically it is Elton John.
Yeah,
Like, I feel like
but famously not.
Famously,
Psychically, yes. Famously not.
psychically, it's actually Equitable Culture number 8. Psychically, yes.
famously not.
Bye.
Bye.